Gaming and NBS episode 280 being recorded Sunday. It's not Sunday. It's Monday.
It's Monday.
February 9th? What day is it?
10th. February 10th.
February 10th, 2020. Welcome to Gaming and BS, a tabletop RPG podcast. I'm Sean.
I'm Brett. Welcome, folks. Glad to have you all here. Sean, I think what we need to do this year, 2020, before it gets too far, we need to get a goddamn calendar and hang it right next to the monitor because we continually forget what day it is that we're recording because we bounce sometimes.
What's a calendar?
I don't know. It's one of those things
up on the wall?
It's one of those things old people have, and we're getting to the old people phase. I'm just saying, between that and a little farmer's almanac next to you, I think we could do this.
Norman Rockwell calendar, please.
Yes. I might get one of those. Honestly, I might combine and get the farmer's almanac tear-off calendar.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I can tell what kind of wheat all my wheat crops will be doing this year. Any announcements besides that?
This
Garbage?
week on Gaming and BS, we talk about farming in role-playing games.
Yes. Any announcements besides that? Anything? Bueller? Anything?
I don't think so.
Have you decided if you're going to make your account or not?
I have not.
Okay.
I don't even know what weekend it is. March something to something.
It's near the end of March, actually, this year.
End of March?
I was ready for it to be, I'm going to check it out right now. I was ready for it to be like earlier in March. I'm like, oh yeah, but it is March 26th through the 29th. So it's late in the month this year.
Well, I think I could make a Saturday.
If you need a place to crash, the brothers Wynn and I will have space in our room. So you can
Sweet.
Camp out there that evening if you need.
Good to know.
Yeah, just don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So other than that, let's just move on, man.
Get a random encounter, man.
Let's do it.
Random encounter. Emails, voicemails, comments from social media, the forums.
Sweet. You go first.
Laramie. This guy. Comments on the forums about Folklore Foes. Comments. I know for one, wow, don't care when the show is recorded or released. Well, that's good.
That's good. That's very good.
I like it being weekly, but respect this is not your job. My work schedule is irregular, and I tend to enjoy the show on the way to and from work. So whenever I get it, I get it. That said, I'm also not going to slack off and be weeks behind. That was in response to
our side little diatribe of like,
right.
hey, we got to get this schedule shit. What do we do? Yeah, that was internal business there. But thank you, Laramie. I appreciate that.
Yeah, he continues. As far as the episode, I respect why some folks might want to use average rolls for things, but I don't think this method is for me. My players already do the math enough as it is. If they knew how much damage was coming or how many hit points a potion heals, I think it would take out some of the unexpected nature of adventure. And since this episode is about keeping the wonder in the game, I think I'll stick to dice. And to that end, that's part of the reason I like systems like Hackmaster Exploding Dice or Hackmaster's Exploding Dice or DCC's spell effects being based on a high roll. They both make the game even less predictable.
Well, I'll jump in right now. That makes sense, right? If you have players that are... We could throw metagaming out there or gaming the system or really gaming it, whatever. But when they look at it, they go, so this goblin does 7 damage. I got 28 hit points. I could be hit, 4 times? So yeah, okay, I'll keep fighting and I'll leave the third round or whatever. Right. You could have that, and that could lead to some less than optimal play for your table. It could lead to a less risk taking or whatever. It could feel safer for some people potentially, and I think I see where Laramie's going with that. So, point well taken, man.
Continues. Interesting monsters and having to figure it out. I really like this episode. One memorable moment from my past was running 4th edition Hackmaster, and the group came across mud ogres. Mud orgs. I may have the name wrong, and maybe the module wrong as well. I think it was Annihilate the Giants. But they were fighting these large humanoid monsters, and the group would have them on the ropes. The things would retreat to their muddy pit and come out no worse for the wear. This cycle repeated a couple times, and now the party was getting the rough end of things. Well, someone in the party figured it out, that the things were being healed by the mud, and the next time the things retreated, the group started just volleying fireballs back there. Massive damage, and they wanted to cook the mud. Job well done.
Yeah, that's how you make clay pots. I like it.
One more thing. Listen to the episode. I was thinking of another podcast, Myths and Legends. Has a lot of neat lore and monsters, as well as rather interesting and brief creature of the week. Cheers, Laramie.
See, Laramie was making points there at the beginning, but now he tells us he listens to other podcasts. That kind of sticks in my craw, man. It's cheating on us. That's what it feels like. No, that's cool. I've not heard of the Myths and Legends one, dude. All jokes aside there. I'll have to check that out. I do like what you talk about there with the mud critters. Sorry about that, Sean. The mud critters. I like that idea where they can retreat and heal or have a bizarre way of healing. I was running a D&D for my 2 younger kids, continuing our campaign this last Sunday, and I succeeded in describing these creatures that burst out of the river, these 2, and they were trolls. I just kind of turned them into river trolls, underwater-y type of things. Modded them up a little bit, but once they figured out, I could see AJ like trying desperately to look over the screen to see which page was open in the monster manual. I caught him. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really curious as if it's what I think it is." But he didn't want to spoil it for his sister or for me. He was playing it as well as he could, and I think it worked out pretty well. Once they figured out that, oh, they regenerate, there's a problem, then they went, all right, time to lay some fire on these bastards. But it was pretty touch and go there for a while. And I think trying to use what I had laid out last time, a different type of description, trying to figure out what it was, similar to the cooking the mud option here, waiting until they figure out what it is, and then making a solid tactical move against it. Pretty cool. Thank you, Laramie. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, Laramie, thanks.
All right, so what do we have here? Jim on Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers. Great episode. My only experience with Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea was actually Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Solomon Kane. Same system, different setting at GaryCon last year. I got pulled into a game that had a no-show by someone I'd played in a couple of other games with. I had not had any exposure to the rules or the game before, other than general D&D experience, but it ended up being one of the best games I played at the con. I since picked up a PDF of the rulebook as part of a humble bundle. It's on my list of games to play at GaryCon in March. The Solomon Kane game was a blast, and I'd happily play it again. But the weird fantasy Hyperborea setting is more appealing to me. Maybe I'll be lucky enough to get into Tim's scheduled game, or in the lobby bar when Brett decides it's finally time to run it in an after-hour session. In any case, it looks like there's plenty of Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea events happening, so it'll be pretty easy to fit in a game or two into my schedule. Yeah, Jim, I think there's usually plenty of good stuff going. Another one to do, because Jeff Talanian is always at GaryCon, and he's usually pretty savvy as to who's playing what and who's running what. If you hang around the Northwind booth, Jeff's booth, and say, hey, I'm looking to get in on a game. Is anybody running anything off book? I'm pretty sure you'll find somebody, even if don't get into anything scheduled. It's a good place to hang out to find people who are into it.
Does Jeff run at GaryCon or no?
I don't know if he does. Shit. You know what? I'm going to ask him when I see him. Jeff, you run any games? Damn it.
He's probably one of those gold level events.
Yeah, gold, platinum, and nuclear mithril or whatever it is that they're running. Yeah. Probably.
Well, that's cool.
Very cool.
I think that's it for this
Is that it? Yeah. Well, I should say that on Twitter, oh shit, who was it? somebody had posted that they liked it and they thought that we did it justice. All right, I'm going to look this up while I'm talking here.
Nola Burt.
Yes, thank you. It was Nola Burt.
Yeah, Robert Nemeth.
Yeah, Robert. I had the R name and the N handle, so I was confused. Yeah, but Robert said he liked it, and he thought that we did a pretty decent justice. It's tough to go like super hardcore deep dive into something like that. So, but I was really glad Tim was on to help bail me out and keep me honest, because he's played it and loves it, and on my side, I really enjoy it, but I've only been able to read it and not yet play it. Sorry, Sean.
Well, I wanted to comment because some people may wonder, like, well, you had Tim on to talk about Astonishing Swordsman and Swordsmiths of Hyperborea, and then we had Jen Brinkman on for DCC and a few others for other games.
Yeah, when we talked
Christian
about
and Ron,
with Christian and Ron, we had we did Cypher System. Darcy. Yep. Darcy. Yep. Cypher System.
Yep. And Troy.
Yep. Troy.
So the reason I bring that up is some people may say, well, how come you just don't reach out to Jeff? How come you don't reach out to, Hensley from Savage Worlds or Monty and, the gang at Monty Cook Games to talk about their games, right? Which we could probably do.
I have a theory as to why we don't. Why do you think we don't, Sean?
Well, I think I would much rather get somebody that's passionate about the game that we know, one, because we could get those folks. Well, I shouldn't say we could get them, let's assume that we could try to get them on the show and that they would be happy to oblige, but then it would feel much more like a marketing push. Yep. Does that make sense? Like,
it does.
They have a obvious bias to the game, good and bad, like not even bad. Just, it's our game. This is why it's great and this is how it's played. Sure, firsthand would be awesome to have Jeff on the show and talk about how he came up with certain things, which things like that perspective, a lot of the guests would probably not have, right? Hey, why'd you choose to go this route with the mechanics, right?
Well, I think generally speaking, our approach is, this is something Brett and Sean are passionate about. That's why we talk about it. And getting like-minded gamers who are passionate about a thing, I think has a lot more, to your point, a lot more power than talking to somebody about sell me your game or why Savage Worlds awesome. And if you want to listen to Shane Hensley tell you why Savage Worlds is awesome, that's out there.
Right.
But and Christian and Ron telling you why it's really cool that's out there too, but they're gamers like us.
Yeah.
They're not the head of a publishing system, right?
True.
And it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And
not that Shane and Monty and all those guys aren't gamers, but
no. I mean, when we had Dave Beatty on, we talked about Westerns. We wanted to talk about Westerns, and we knew there'd be some tie-in, obviously, to Dark Trails, because he's got that Kickstarter going at the time. We wanted to give him a chance to talk about that, give him a little platform to drum up some support, because we were obviously in support of our buddy and what he's doing. But having that type of thing from the horse's mouth is pretty important. Western horse's mouth. But in something that's been out for a while, like when we talked about Cypher System, having Troy and Darcy explain why they started a podcast to talk about this thing that somebody else made, there's some serious passion in that. Jen Brinkman is on a podcast about something somebody else made. A couple podcasts about it, right? And she's a big DCC acolyte, and it's to have her passion on there is great. And what drew you to this thing? Why is this your passion? And same with the other folks we've talked to like that. So I just think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. But I felt, I don't know if I felt compelled to explain, but I thought there was a particular angle. But I just wanted to put that out there. That's all I have to say about that. There you go.
All right, good. I agree with you.
Well, good. You hear that, everybody?
It doesn't happen often.
Brett agrees with me again.
It's a new year.
First quarter. You've said this before, though.
Have that? I agree with you.
This quarter, I believe.
This quarter. Oh.
Yeah, we'll have to rewind the tape.
You have to go back and listen to that.
Main topic, huh?
Let's move on. You ready, man?
I'm ready, man.
All right. So, My Delta Green campaign ended in a TPK. Talked about that. Sean, last time we talked a little bit about what you got cooking for gaming. You talked about how your Call of Cthulhu group. You said, I don't know how long we're going to play. Maybe they might want to bail on this whole Mass of Nyarlathotep campaign. It might be, we'll change something up. And that got me thinking a little bit, is how long is long enough for a campaign? Or how long should a campaign go? We've talked about this a bit in the past. Yes.
I got the answer. I got the answer right now, Brett.
What is the answer, Sean?
As long as it needs to be, but nothing longer. There we go.
It's either perfect or it's failed.
Let's go on to die roll. Die roll, everybody.
Nice. So there's more than a couple, probably, multiple ways to measure a campaign, like in length. The number of sessions you play it, length of time in real world that it takes to get the campaign completed. I was wondering, I know some people say, hey, this is a campaign. It should take, I've seen this online. Oh, I expect this campaign to take 12 sessions. I'm like, wow, you figured that out? That's crazy. And there was always a little give or take there. Look, if I ask people, holy shit, really? Exactly 12? Well, maybe 13, maybe 11, maybe a little bit more, but I'm assuming it'll be about this many, which I think is pretty cool. And I started thinking about my Delta Green campaign. I had plenty of stuff in my hopper, in the campaign hopper, is what could happen as the crew found out more about the Serpent Men, and they dealt with Tiger Transit and the Chocho, and they got deeper into what was going on and the connection to Hyboria and Lemuria and Lost Atlantis and so forth. There was plenty of stuff they could have gotten into, but knowing that Delta Green, Call of Cthulhu type of thing can have, much like many campaigns, honestly, can have that sudden, y'all dead, or wow, you're done, in one way, shape, or form. I didn't force. I kind of felt, look, I have all this stuff. Let's kind of see how it goes. And this is my general approach is a campaign is, to your point, is as long as it takes, which is usually code for me and my home group is about a year of real time, once a month for about a year. So that's basically 12 sessions.
Once a month for how long per month?
How long per month? Anywhere from 4 to 8 hours.
So you're essentially saying 48 to 48 hours. Well, 8 times 12. What is that? I don't even know what that is.
That's 96.
96?
96 hours.
48 to 96 hours?
Yeah, somewhere between, 50 to 100 hours. Using IT director math there. Just roll it up to a bigger number. It makes it sound more important.
So if you were running a game as a full-time job, it's basically 2 weeks long.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Can you imagine doing what?
Running a game every day for 40 hours?
Like Adam Coble does?
Oh my God, it'd be exhausting.
That guy's running games every damn day. I don't know.
Dude's a machine.
Yeah.
So that's what it turns out that my campaigns are running. And when my buddy Alpha's running a game, we're doing Out of the Abyss, and Nick is starting up a Star Wars game that we're going to be in. And hey, guess what? I'm not a pilot. Just so you know, I'm not a pilot. I'm going to engage full on, man. I'm a Mandalorian. I told you about this guy. I told you about my guy. He's cool.
All right. Yes.
Anyway.
Sounds like you're stoked, man. Good.
I am, actually. This is going to be fun.
All right.
Yeah. I
hope he gives you a baby Yoda.
I got somebody who's like a real Star Wars fan to run this one for me. I figure it'll be good this time.
Ow. I think that's a jab.
A little bit. Anyway, so that's kind of what my group from a campaign. Hey, you're going to run a campaign? Yeah, sure. Everybody in my crew basically says, oh, this is probably going to be a year, 12 months. Okay, cool. Then whoever comes up next will run the next campaign and so on and so forth. Sean, how long do your campaigns do you have? Because you run pre-publish, and because I'm running stuff that I made up, it's homebrew stuff, and so that's what Nick's doing. Alpha runs, right now he's running pre-published stuff, and he seems to have a similar cadence to you.
What is he running?
Out of the Abyss right now.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm curious as to, do yours take like a year encounter time, or how do you measure a campaign? Do you figure, we're going to play this one until I get to the last page or everybody dies? What's what's your plan going in? When you get someone to sign up for Tomb of Annihilation, do they sign up for, you say, hey, we're going to play this, and it should last 6 months? Or do you tell people that, or do they just sign up to play until it's done?
Well, if you ask anybody but our high-level patrons, where it lasted like, I don't know, a session and a half maybe, running pre-published, it's pretty much from, all right, we're going to kick this off, we're going to go until we get through it. So if with Tomb of Annihilation, it's pretty straightforward. You go all the way to the end to probably kill the big bad lich.
So if you compare Tomb of Annihilation, your standard D&D type module, where, hey, I've got a beginning, I'll get to the big bad guy or whatever it is, the big reveal. Do you see the Massive Nyarlathotep in a similar light? The people who are into that one, are they signing up for, we're going to do this until we all either we get to the end or die trying? Is that how they're approaching it? And the reason I'm asking is because last time you said you were curious as to if they were going to keep rolling.
Well, so the quick answer is yes. Because I did bring it up like, hey, it's
this is big.
666 pages in this campaign. This is at least a year spanning.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all in? Now, at the same time, I would say, hey, if this isn't doing it for everybody, I'm okay with everybody speaking up and saying, hey, I want to get out of this. I don't want to keep doing this every couple of weeks. I'm kind of bored or whatever.
But so just a second, you asked me how long or when. Mine is once a month, X number of hours. You're gaming every other week?
So in Doc's game, I'm running every other week for just shy of 4 hours. So it's about 7 or 8 hours, probably about a solid 7 hours a month. And then in Tomb of Annihilation, I'm running once a month, ideally, for
6, 8 hours.
It's scheduled for 8, but like the first hour to 2 hours is dick around time.
Yeah, that's a game.
We have a soft start at 10. Shit doesn't get underway until like noon, maybe.
What's interesting is your game, both of them are basically running the same
duration. Yeah.
Same duration, yeah, 50 to 100 hours.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Is your Call of Cthulhu group, after you met last time, my Delta Green crew went, wow, it's over. Interesting. Total party
kill. Did they expect that it would be done?
No, well, when they all died, they went, well, that's Delta Green for you. What's next? And a couple of them said, we're going to keep going. And I said, well, we could. And what was it? Lenny and Field that would feel contrived. We failed. This Cthulhu, man, we failed. And that's how it goes. And that's the way my group operates. At least when I'm running Cthulhu, is they expect the world sometimes goes pear-shaped. They're fucked. And they failed. So chances are the Serpent Men and the Cho-Cho and Tiger Transit are going to do horrible, evil things and bring about the destruction of stuff. Yep, they failed to solve it. Too bad. That's Cthulhu ending. Nihilism forever, brother.
Well, I'm not quite sure I like their attitude because if the hands of the world, the fate of the world were in their hands, man.
Well, if the fate of the world were in their hands and they all died, they'd be like, oh, well, I gave it my best shot. That's how they looked at it. Like, look, we tried. We tried really fucking hard.
That's
not good enough for Sean.
Okay. I'm not buying it.
Anyway, so is your crew, after you've played it for a while, are they still in for masks?
So update, yes, they are. Because we wrapped up New York, and I thought, okay, well, so we could be done if you want to be done. If not, I'm good with still rolling.
You gave him an out. You gave him an out.
Well,
no, you just like, look, you're still alive. We're still fucking gaming.
I could have taken that way, but I don't. That's what I would have done with Jeff, but not with Doc and the crew. No.
All right. You're a little more.
Yeah.
A little different with them. Okay, I got it. Different audience, I get you.
Yeah, they wouldn't put up with me with that shit.
So, but they're still in for it?
They are. They're going to England.
Ah, okay.
So
that is actually where last time I played Master of the Nyarlathotep, that's where my group, after we went from New York, we ended up in England. Then from England, we ended up in Egypt. That's where we all died.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, ideally, I want to see things out, but I've also been, I mean, obviously, I've started campaigns in the past and they haven't gone the distance for a variety of different reasons.
So when something doesn't work, like my Delta Green game, I was set to run for the regular 50 to 100 hours, full year in real time, right? The full calendar year. And they died. So, wow, interesting. Well, we always have another campaign. Something else is cooking. Somebody else is going to run. We're ready to go. I talked about this not a long time back, but last year, my group and I had a kind of, not a falling out, but I got pissed and we all kind of argued about.
I remember that. Yeah.
But that was the only time in a very long time I just flat out killed the game because I was pissed. But
generally, that was 2 years ago.
Well, probably 2 years ago.
Ish. Because that was when Joe was here the first time.
Yeah, a long time back. But now, the only other time when a game ends now is when everybody dies or they've come to the end of it, they've beaten the bad guy, whatever. The campaign is a natural ending of one shape or another that the group's like, yep, this is a good place to end. That's where we end. Because we only run for that period of time and somebody has something new ready to go afterwards, I don't often, and we're mixing it up where we're not always just fantasy, or D&D, Pathfinder, D&D, Pathfinder, D&D. It's not the same thing all the time. I think having the options out there has made it so that, this was cool. We played a modern Delta Green Call of Cthulhu game. Cool. We died. Great. Oh, we got some D&D going. Oh, we got some space opera. Cool shit coming. That's cool. We'll do that for a while. We don't seem to get distracted off the campaign we're playing because we know it has an ending. And once it's done, something else cool and different's coming. Which normally my gamer ADD kicks in. I'm like, oh, what's over here? Oh, I want to check out something new where I've got a new campaign going. When yours end, because I guess, Sean, do you notice that your players or you, or is a combination, get distracted? Is distraction like, oh, you know what? Fuck this. It's Cold Shadows tonight. Or, yeah, you know what? Bored with this. Shadowrun time. Does boredom or distraction, the shiny new thing, throw you in the crew, or is it more Sean gets bored running? I'm talking about the stuff you run. You, Sean, are running. Do you tend to kill them because you're bored with them, or the players bail on you?
It could be either. I've had just, hey, we're gonna play. We don't play. Hey, we're gonna get everybody together. We don't play. Well, I'm done. You guys let me know. I'm going on and taking my ball and playing somewhere else then. So I've had that happen.
Yeah, that's almost like a group dissolution.
It is,
right?
Totally. Exactly. Yeah. Or, I get Jeff, hey, I'm going back to school and I got classes and stuff to take care of.
Real life gets in your way, man.
Yeah. New shiny comes into play every once in a while, but I don't know if I would turn it on a dime. Like, I'm not one that says, this sucks. Let me run something else. We're going to fire up Star Wars next week.
A little more thought goes into it than that.
Yeah. I mean, I am not far from perfect. I think I mentioned this before. One of the groups I was a part of for quite some time, I started running stuff and things were falling through all the time, and I think they eventually got fed up and kicked me to the curb.
It happens.
Yeah, and they're still playing to this day as far as I know, and probably in the same campaign, which has got to be over, man, shit, it's 7-10 years? I don't know.
So you're like perfect segue in here, dude. One of the things that my group used to do, that we're having beer, shooting pool in Alpha's basement, out drinking or whatever it is we're doing, we're having dinner, and we'll all be like, man, remember when we would have like a 5-year-long campaign where we had these characters that made it survive, thrive, some died, but we main story, the big thing happened over, and that's harkening back to my 15-year vampire run, my World of Darkness stuff. Yeah, boy, wouldn't it be cool to do that? And I'll be like, yeah, that would be really cool to do that. But everyone says, yeah, I don't think we can do that anymore. And I started asking my group, like, do you guys want to do that? And like, yeah, it'd be really cool, but we can't. And I'm like, why? Why can't we do that? It's just us. I mean, I could build a big goddamn campaign. We could do a thing if you really, really want to play, like from level 1 to 20 type of thing. We could do that. It'd take a long time, but if you really want to do it. And what I found that it does is it's not, I think it's a little bit of attention issues. And by that, I mean that the group goes and we're playing, we're having fun. I think everybody is like, what happened? What happened? Where's this? Where's that? And I believe part of this is because my group sucks at keeping notes as to what the fuck they did. I keep really good notes as to what I've been doing because I realize my memory as to what I used to do or what happened last month. It's not what it used to be, right? Because I got plenty of other grown-up shit to do. I got other problems and other things to worry about, like my network isn't functioning at work properly or something. I got problems to deal with.
We have a 12-ounce brain and 20 ounces of liquid.
Yeah, and half that liquid's bourbon. So there you go. Anyway, so I thought about that. I'm like, man, and I mentioned to Lenny, I'm like, I have this really cool idea I think would be totally fun. Everyone would get it. I said, but I really need you guys to take notes and keep fucking track of what you're doing. And he's like, I don't think it's going to happen. He said, I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think the group's going to do it. He said, I'll get distracted. I'll forget. It's not going to work. I'm like, And then, so I've been noodling on this for a while. I was listening to, watching and listening to a Matt Colville downtime video he has. I've got a link in the die roll later on. He talks about how and this is very much how I played for a long, long time. And then when you'd have downtime with your group, the guys would get together, and the ladies and gents I played with, I'd say, hey, between now and next session, there's a week's worth of downtime. Email me if you want to do something. Or if we're in town and I'm there, we get the chance to get together. Let's talk through what it is your character would want to do. And I would have these one-on-one downtime sessions. It wasn't just, as in 5e, you roll on a chart to see did your investment work, did your alchemical thing work, or a very simplified, speeded up downtime thing. This was the times when the one Toreador vampire would try to build up his club chaos. This is when the wizard vampire would try to do this other thing, or when this werewolf would try to do that, or whatever it was, or even when I ran my first really big Avalon campaign for that group, it's when Lenny's character, Newt, would go home and talk to his grandfather and learn something about the White Griffins, and he talked to his sister or his mom, and he had a girlfriend for a while. And that's when some players didn't care. They didn't want to get into any of that. They didn't deal with it. Some of them really loved it. And I think some of the depth of the campaign wasn't even the 50 or 100 hours of standard game time. It was all the downtime stuff that happened that really got cool. And I think the players who engaged in the downtime components of it had a much better memory of everything that happened. Even if they weren't keeping like meticulous notes, because we were playing more often, it was fresher in everybody's mind, or at least certain players, right, who wanted to engage in it. Tracking with me?
I think so.
So, what I think I'm going to do is I want to reinvigorate my bad magic setting. And what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to have everybody, we're going to make characters, and I'm going to start everything. The entire campaign is going to start off as one-on-one downtime, quote-unquote, type sessions. So every time I'm up, I'm going to, when I go up at the end of the month in February here with the group, play D&D, I'm going to lay out the plan for everybody. They'll go, oh, yeah, sounds good. Yeah, sure, we'll try anything. I'm going to pick somebody. We're saying, we're going to sit with you, Nick. We're going to make your character, and we're going to have a session. hour, a couple hours, whatever it is, kind of kick things off. And then I'll probably get hold of somebody else and say, hey, would you be willing to do your discussion over email or Slack or some online chat? Or we could, use a Google Hangout or something. Yeah, sure, we can do that. Yeah, I got time. And while the Star Wars game is running, while Out of the Abyss is going on, I'm going to build this kind of groundswell of this small side campaign that's happening in the background with everybody. Making sure that I'm not stealing any thunder from either Alpha or Nick as they're running. But what I want to do is kind of do this private little setup thing where everybody's going to show up when we finally get together, when either Nick's game ends or Alpha's game ends first, and I step back in for a regularly scheduled game, if you will. Then all these folks show up, all the characters are broken in. They may have actually met each other or heard about each other at some point, and then like the real action can happen. And that's what I'm thinking of doing. It's basically like a slow burn build up to this event that then kicks off the rest of the real campaign. It's kind of like a number of different preludes. Does that make sense? You tracking?
I am. And it sounds like something that I would want to consider on my next one. I don't know. It depends on what the game I'm playing. I told you Star Wars, I would want to try to do that. It's like if we play Star Wars.
It's like that. The Colville's Downtime video got it there, but I also thought about, you and I have talked about, we'll talk about this more when we get together this month on the 22nd. But it's like that West Marches type of thing too. Like, look, y'all have characters, right? In this campaign. Yeah. Who's available? I'm in town. Alpha says we can meet in his basement at noon. Well, half of us can't make it for his Out of the Abyss game. Well, who can be there? Well, Alpha, Nick, and Lenny can be there. Great. Alpha, Nick, and Lenny. I'm going to run you 3 characters for a little bit. Cool. Zave shows up on Saturday a little bit early. Great, Zave. Sit down. Go do your thing. These little interludes and trying to use all the time I have with these guys to get this stuff going. I think it'll and kind of have that West Marches-y type feel. So if Zave goes, I heard this thing about JR's character. Hey, JR, why don't I pick you up? We'll go to Alpha's place. Brett says he's got an hour before the game starts, before Out of the Abyss goes. We can talk through what we're going to do. Or after the game. Can you stay a little bit late or whatever the case is? I think I can make this work utilizing kind of the fringes of the regular scheduled game time to slowly but surely kind of build up this cool backstory for everybody and this stuff that's happening and clues and hints and stuff of this big idea I have, and then roll it out when everybody's ready. I think it'll work. I hope. If it fails, oh well. I had other failures in the past. But I'm kind of grooving on the whole, going back to the West Marches concept of, gaming with a group. I tend to have, I don't know if I have more time, but the gamers who want to put extra effort in, right? We all have gamers in our groups. I shouldn't say we all do, but I do. I have some gamers in my group who don't have time for one reason or another to do some of the quote unquote extra stuff, the downtime pieces, as I talked about earlier, where someone would say, I'd be like, hey, we got 2 weeks to do something. Let me know if you want to do something. I'd have a couple people. I meant to get you something, but I got busy. I forgot. I had nothing I didn't want to do, blah, blah, blah. And some people just aren't into that. And they're more than happy just to show up at the start of the campaign with a character and just kind of sort it all out. But I have a number of other people who have told me, I really wish we could do a huge, long, quote unquote, forever campaign, this big fucking thing. But we don't have time. I'm like, no, I think we do have time. We just have to use it differently. And I've got to use some of the other tools at my disposal. Emails, your chats, a couple of these sidebar one-on-one things. Instead of assuming that's got to be a big group effort, because this isn't go to the dungeon to save the dragon from some whatever the case is or whatnot. This is a investigative, figure out bits and pieces of thing, and then show up when the actual campaign starts. I think it'll work. So I'm going to give it a shot this month. We're going to run it by the guys and see what they think.
So the one time a month that you guys play, you're playing between 3 campaigns?
Potentially.
Or 3 games?
Potentially, yeah. So Friday night is Out of the Abyss, and Saturday evening is Star Wars at this point. So I have all day Saturday.
I gotcha.
The Star Wars game usually starts about noon, 1 o'clock. So I have that morning to meet with people. And the main thing, it doesn't have to be in person. And that's the other piece I want to get through to the group is like, we can do some of this stuff online. You can email me. Y'all got email. We can have an email thread back and forth. I can start a Google Hangout. We can use Slack. There's all sorts of shit we can use to track how we're discussing things back and forth. And I think it would work. Because I have a number of people who would love to engage in this stuff. But, like, let's say Beta. Beta can show up to about 75% of the sessions. He's got a big family like I do. Some of his kids are younger than my youngest kids, and he's got shit going on. His wife's busy, he's busy, and sometimes he can't make the game. So that 25%, he can't make the session on the night we schedule it. Once a month. Fuck. But another weekend, when he is free, he and I can get together and talk online. Or he can send me an email on Monday evening when he's thinking about it, and I can engage. You know what I'm saying?
So I think if that works...
I think it'll work. I'm hoping it works. It's one of those, like, not a high ideal, but I'm like, it's a big idea. I want it to work really bad. I'm just hoping the group is like, oh yeah, sure, we're in for it. Let's try it. And that they actually do give it the good old college try, as opposed to kind of a half-ass try.
So I think it'll work regardless in the beginning, or at least at the beginning when everybody's somewhat bought in. My concern, but you know your group better than I do.
Well, I want to hear it, though, because this is why I'm throwing it at you, is because this is, wham, I want to do this thing. And it sounds sexy in my head, but what do you see as a flaw? What's your concern?
Well, how long do you go doing your own thing as me, as one of your participants? When does the group start? When do we get to adventure together?
Okay.
Or you know, maybe it's me and you, or you're running and it's me and Eileen and, you know, Larry or whatever. Yeah. Okay, great. And then the next month it's me, and then it's maybe just me. And then the month after that, it's me and 2 other people.
Yep.
But it's not all 6 of us. Like, okay, the campaign of all 6 of us are now together and moving forward.
So that's a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up because I almost forgot to mention it. Alpha's game, Out of the Abyss, is the furthest along. The Star Wars campaign hasn't kicked off yet.
So Out of the Abyss has the most likelihood of ending
first.
Okay.
And so I'm going to talk to Alpha. I'm going to say, look, dude, no pressure, but how far along are we? What do you think? And that's kind of to full circle here. When you try to gauge how long a campaign is going to be, because whatever's coming up next is kind of pushing. And I've known Alpha for a very long time, Evercon partners and all this stuff, and I don't want to tell him, look, dude, I got a really cool thing. You're fucking in my way. Move aside, kid. Yeah, because that's rude.
Yeah.
He's one of my best friends. But I want to ask him, like, how long you think? Where you at? If I said, hey, let's start something. If I said we were going to start in July, does that sound okay? If I said June, and it sounds crazy, but it's February, then there's March, April, May, June. That's only 4 months.
Yeah.
Of this kind of one-offy, downtimey, one-on-one type of, or small groups, potentially. So if he says, look, man, at the rate you guys are cooking, we got like 10 sessions left. Fuck, you'll be lucky to be done by December. I'll probably table the idea. If he tells me, you know what, we probably got about 4 more months, and then I'm done, I could kick it off, and I could get rolling with it. Because I don't want to... The last thing I want to do is do this kind of... this on-the-side thing, this third little deal, and then accidentally subvert Alpha or Nick's game. Everybody becomes more interested in Brett's thing than their thing, because that would be an absolute dick move. That's not my intent.
Right.
So I'm going to talk to Alpha and Nick first to get their buy-in. And I've known these guys 20 plus years, so they'll look me in the eye and say, no, don't do that now. Wait till July and then start it. Or, yeah, sure, you could try that. Or, well, yeah, but, I'm going to get honest answers out of both of them. So I'm going to start talking to those guys first to get their buy-in that they think it's okay that I do this. Because I don't want to. It'd be kind of like, hey, I'm going to start this really cool game with everybody in Sean and Doc's group. But I'm going to start it before Sean's done Call of Cthulhu. I'm going to start it kind of on the side. And at the same time Sean's running. It could be very awkward. I think the only reason I could pull this off is because it's the same group I've been with for almost 30 years now. I think it'd work. But that's a good question. I think that's, when does the full group get together? And if that timeline, that horizon is like 5 months, half a year, more down the road, now's not the good time to start that.
Well, and you have to consider, all right, I've got 6 to 8 people in my game group, and I'm running a campaign, and they can never keep track of what's happening session to session. Now you're going to separate everybody, and maybe at best pairs.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how is you're going to be having to keep track of all that crap.
So, I want to. I think Obsidian Portal can help me do this, or there's got to be another tool. I might even do like a Google Docs for super cheap and easy. And I'm going to keep notes from every session, every sidebar, every one-on-one, whatever. I'm going to keep all that crap there. And then I can share it. Like if it's Google Docs, I can share that with, here's Alpha's list, here's Lenny's list, here's this, here's this, here's this. And just share individual folders or documents. So I believe it's more work on my part, but this is where I've got a vested interest in it because I think it's a cool idea and I want to try it. I am willing to do some extra legwork and take notes after each of the sessions because it's only taking a discussion between me and one player or me and 2 players, putting notes together and going, wham, here it is in a document. So I think I can do it if I do that. Because then it'd be reference sheets for everybody to look back on. When they say, I don't remember what happened last time. Remember I shared the Google Doc with you. So this will be, part of it is that I have, whoever wants to do it or is in for it has to be willing to utilize whatever technology platform I choose. Like, look, this is what I'm going to do to keep notes for it. If you're not down with doing this, then you can't be involved. And the group is decent enough that I can be a little hard-nosed that way. Say, look, I'm going to use Google Docs to keep track of this shit. Well, I don't like using the computer to game with. Well, too fucking bad. Then you can't play. Right? We got plenty of opportunities. We got a lot of campaigns going on. We're more of a gaming club than just a single gaming group. We got at least 2 campaigns going at any given time, plus the war games and everything else the guys do. There's plenty of opportunities for them to play with each other. So I think if I take the onerous task of keeping notes for each individual activity, it'll work. And actually by doing that, I'll be able to drop clues and hints appropriately and keep track of where they all are too. So for my own sanity's sake, I'll be able to watch my Venn diagram slowly converge until I have the 8-person session. So I think that's my answer to that question.
I'm surprised they want to do the never-ending epic.
Well, never-ending is kind of a misnomer. They just want to do something big. And they want kind of like we used to do. Like, wow, something really big out of the world, something different. But it's not, we're not going to use D&D. I think I might use New World of Darkness system or Gumshoe, which is what I've done with Bad Magic in the past. Anyway, we want to do something that's very story-driven, role-playing and blah, 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 and not levels like in D&D or a Pathfinder type of thing, which is, again, what we used to do. And I think the only way I can try to recapture some of what we used to do is by remolding it so it would work this way. We'll see. And I might try it, and I am 100% ready for it to be an abysmal burnout, flame out. Like, oh, wow, we tried that for 2 months, and it fucking sucked. Nobody liked it. I'll scrap it. I'll start over. But I've got a group I can experiment with. They'll let me try something. So I figured, what the hell? Let's give it a go.
Yeah, what's the worst thing that could happen?
It doesn't work.
Or they don't tell you.
Oh, they'll tell me. Oh, they'll tell me. Oh, yeah. There's no way they'll keep that secret. So that's what I'm thinking of doing. I'll float it by the guys when I get up there on the 29th at the end of the month. I'll see what they say. And they could tell me it's a terrible fucking idea. I don't know. I'll let you know what happens, though.
Well, I'm sure they'll buy it. It's just a matter of when you can kick it off.
And how it'll, yeah. It'll be the tactics. And I know, much like the way I ended up being partly in charge of EverCon, is I'm like, the only way to make this fucking thing work the way I want it to is to do it myself. So, the only way to make sure this thing works the way I want it to is organize the damn thing myself. So I think I can do it. I got a good group. If nothing else, by will alone, I'll force it to happen for a while, and we'll see. We'll see how long it lasts. What do you think, Sean? Think I got a chance, or do you think odds are against me? What do you think?
No, I think you got a group that's willing to give it a shot. I don't see why you won't be able to kick it off. Sustaining it might be tricky.
This idea I had.
Because how are you going to plan around that if it's like, well, I don't know, I'm available, but he or she isn't.
I don't
today,
know yet.
I thought they were.
That's a sketchy bit. I don't quite know.
I mean, you do some crazy flying by the seat of your pants bullshit, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's your style. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So you just sit down, figure out an encounter, some problem, some NPC. It's got the exclamation point over their head.
Oh, I'll go talk to that guy. He's got the whirling diamond. Go talk to him.
Brett writes down a sentence, says, hey, this guy tells you there's shit in the forest that's bad news.
I think a piece of the inspiration for this was back when we talked about gaming away from the table, which is God knows how many episodes ago.
Holy shit, man. That was like in the first 100, I think.
Yeah, it's a long time back. And this is 50. Actually, if Invisible Sun would have been something that really, really captured me and I could have gotten my group into, this would probably be how I'd run Invisible Sun for this group. However, they and I have little to no interest in that mechanical system or setting. So I'm going to do it my way with my bad magic setting, which I think will work fine that way. So from the mechanics perspective, I can sort that out with them. And the setting, I got that. So that's going to work. Now it's a matter of getting buy-in. As long as I get the buy-in and they're willing to try, I think we can do it. So I'll let you know how it goes.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Or I'll show up and be like, John, they hate me. Why do they hate me so much? Yeah, that's what'll happen. Or I'll finally have enough of their shit and break up with them, and I'll come game with you and Doc.
It's always an option.
It's totally an option.
You have to be on site.
It might be worth it. Fuck, dude, I drive 3 hours one way to game with these assholes.
That's true. That's true.
All right, man, that's all I had. I apologize. I shouldn't, well, as usual, I kind of took over the topic there. I apologize.
Yeah, I
just wanted to lay that out for you and see what you thought.
I do think it's an interesting take. Closest thing I would come to it is starting with individuals and then trying to bring them all together.
Yeah. Like I said, kind of a West Marches thing on an individual by individual basis.
One of the things that bothers me about how I run games is pre-published games kind of are what they are. I think there's something to be said about, okay, what do you want to play? Who are you? What do you want to do? What do you want to try to achieve? Maybe that's good to know, or maybe some people are wanting to elaborate, some might not. But tying things into their character so that there's even more potential investment does pique my curiosity to run.
Back in the old days, the way Vampire was set up initially was everybody's embrace when you got turned into a vampire. you're encouraged in the system to have a one-on-one session role play that, either in front of the group or whatever role play everybody's embraced, because it would get you kind of into character and so on and so forth, start plot seeds and so on. I've done that over the years, back in the day when I ran Vampire. Sometimes we'd be like, how did that happen? Move it on. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Let's get to the meat of it. But I think it's been so long since I've done anything like that with this group. I think the people have talked to me about how interested they are in trying it again. I think it'd be cool to try. And as I said, I am absolutely ready for everyone to say, you know what? I thought I'd like that. Turns out I can't stand it. Can you run Pathfinder again? It could totally happen. It could totally fucking happen. So we'll see what goes. All right, man. That's enough fun of me. You ready for die roll?
Yeah, let's get to die roll.
Let's do it.
Die roll! 2d4 miscellaneous points of gaming and geekery we want to share with you. First one, Brett. What's that all about?
Matt Colville's downtime video that helped to kind of kick this idea off in my head, so I got a link in the show notes for that.
You know, I'm going to go to work tomorrow, and I'm going to sit at my desk, and I'm just going to twiddle my thumbs, and they're going to go, what are you doing? I'm going, downtime.
Downtime. Sorry, it's my downtime. I sent my notes into my game master. I'm waiting for a response.
That's right.
Downtime, man. So Joe Swick gave us Gaming in a Castle. We got a link to that in the show notes. Apparently you can rent a castle, which is pretty goddamn cool.
Cheap. It's like $20 a night or some shit in Spain.
It's in Spain, though. I think us getting to the Spain is the hard part, right?
I suppose.
Yes.
There's a ship or plane or something that goes
I mean, there's stuff that gets us there. It's just the expense of getting there.
Yeah. Wow. Jared Rasher. He interviewed Kimmy Hughes. I know Kimmy from Happy Jacks. She's got a new Kickstarter.
Oh, cool.
So I should probably put a link to the Kickstarter. Cards. I forgot what they're called, but we'll have a link in the die roll. But Jared, I was fairly impressed with Mr. Rasher's interview skills. They're on Good Gnome Stew.
Jared Rasher's a good dude.
Yes.
Well, he's one of our listeners. I've yet to interact with any of our listeners that I haven't liked. All of our listeners are cool people.
Well, there's Hobbs.
I still like Hobbs.
Oh,
he's a nutball, but I love him. You do?
You do? I don't know, man.
Hey, we put up with Tim DeShane, man. We can put up with anybody.
Fair. Robert Nemeth, Kickstarter, has a Kickstarter. He's participating in Zine Quest. So all the Zine Kickstarters is all part of Kickstarter's Zine Quest campaign.
I backed that one. Did you?
Roberts?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. I went on the retail.
Did you?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Did you
went on the retail?
I'm going to throw this one out there, too. One of us, Sideshow Salvation, a dystopian dust bowl. That is our good friend, Tim DeShane. So that's got to get out there. So I'm going to put the link in the notes.
We just haven't announced it on the show.
Yeah, but link in the notes there for that one.
Yeah. So we'll have that in there. Robert Nemeth, a.k.a. Nola Burt. Nola Burt. Every time I see him, I want to call him Nola Burt. The Hidden Necropolis. Now, these things end February 16th. Well, at least Robert's does. His does. I think Tim's is a little bit later. So literally when we drop this, you're probably going to have like a day to get on there and kick it. So
yeah,
there's a lot.
If nothing,
others.
Tim's ends in like 8 days from now. So it's going to be pretty quick.
Yeah. 2020. What's up, doggy?
That's my wife's little dog.
Look up, little doggy. Listen to Brett's little doggy. Bert, Bert, Bert.
Yeah.
He's at Brett's side. Brett.
I'm gonna go get my boxer to go beat the crap out of that little thing.
Fred has a boxer and a little Brett dog.
Yeah, it's a old policeman's trick, actually. I learned this from a buddy of mine who's a cop. You get a large dog, like my boxer is 80 pounds. Large dogs do not give a fuck about anything that happens in their house 90% of the time. Like, oh, look at that. You're breaking in. Okay, that's annoying. And they're out. However, little dog goes, hey, what's that? Hey, have you seen that? Big dog goes, Jesus. Ah, fine, fuck it. I'm going to go take a look. Lumbers up and goes, hey, I don't like that UPS guy. Then he starts barking.
There's a certain synergy, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a kind of a symbiotic, parasitical. Anyway.
What are we talking about next week, Brett?
So I got a couple ideas for you, Sean. Let me throw these at you here. So one of them, Tim DeShane hit on Twitter about this, about player skill versus character skill. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. I'm thinking about maybe revisiting that. Another one, kind of in that vein, is kind of a practice makes perfect thing. When Tim was on, we talked about this a little bit, where you need to, kind of the concept of role-playing RPG games, any hobby is a muscle, so to speak, that you need to engage and work to become good at a thing. Talking about that potentially. Or we could talk about anything you'd like to talk about, Sean. Do you have anything top of mind? Anything burning an issue? How to deal with Jeff? Anything like that?
Oh, I know exactly.
You got that down?
How to deal with that fucking guy. No, but if I think of something, I'll let you know.
Awesome. Very good.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that's what I
appreciate that.
Yeah, I do that for you.
You're good like that.
All right. Well, I guess. Shoot.
Let's wrap this shit up, brother.
Let's wrap it up, man. I guess for Gaming and BS, I'm Sean.
And I'm Brett. Good night, good game and all.
This episode of Gaming and BS brought to you with the help from the following BSers. Curtis Takahashi, Joe Swick, Aaron Raelia, Larry Hout, Mark Tasaka, Pure Mongrel, Chris Steele, Ron Bishop, Thomas Hook, Wayne Humphrey, Craig, Brandon Barnes, Laramie Wall, Dan LaValle, Jason Hobbs, Sky, Old School DM, Perry Besor, Michael Dinos, Jim Fitzpatrick, Christopher Gray, Bruce Cunnington, John Kayward, Corey Gonzalez, Eileen Barnes, Robert Nemeth, Niall Diamond, Howard Bishop, Mark Anthony Benedetti, Eric Salzwedel, The Closet Gamer, Jeff Goad, Aaron Coleman, Ray Otis, C.W. Mellencamp, Craig Huber, Rich Wishon, Old Scouser Roleplaying, Jared Rasher, Andy Hall, David F. Baylog, Harrigan, Melissa Bashinsky, Brian Rumble, Henry Newcomb, Eric Telvola, Husk Carl, Roger Brassick, Mark Sohm, Andy Hall, Eric Avila, Ron Blessing, Jeff Seifert, Ghost GM, Mike Hess, Angus, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Corey Weston, Chad Glayman, Finnulf, Josh Wallace, Marco Froelich, Graham Minert, and Corey Wynn. Also want to thank Ghost DM, Hobbs, Joe C., Mumphrey, Tony Sugarloaf, and Laramie for joining us in the chat room during this live recording. If you like what you heard on this episode, and even if you maybe didn't like it, go out and tell your friends about the podcast. Send them over to gamingandbs.com and tell them to subscribe. Thanks, BSers. This has been a Litterbox Studio production.